Silver Space. What's the spoopy game? Should we pop into it?
Is it time?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
What time is it?
Are you playing it, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Play it. If you want to switch at some point, let me know. I'll pick it up. We will reveal it now. So this is Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. This is...
Is this on your list? Or my list?
well, it's on my list.
Okay, because you're right.
This is a really, really, really interesting game, and I want to throw it at the 12 o'clock hour because it's kind of spoopy. So, Greg, if you want to jump into it, Greg is going to model it for us. He has not played it. I don't think he really knows anything about it.
No, I've heard about it.
A little bit about it.
Sure.
So, this is a game by, is it Ninja Theory?
Yeah.
Ninja. I get Ninja Theory and Team Ninja mixed up sometimes, and they're not the same. By Ninja Theory, this game has been described as a AA game. It's not quite the size of like a AAA game, but it's like a little bit bigger than an indie, so it's a weird in between. And the thing about this game is it is about a main character who is suffering from psychosis. And to make this game, they did a lot of legitimate research into psychosis. They talked with a lot of people who actually suffered from it. There's a big documentary that comes with this game, like on disc, about the research that they did and how they implemented some of the real things. And it's treated in a very real and very sensitive way. I've read takes where some people have different opinions on how effective. I forgot to put social up for this. If you want to. Yeah, I'll give you my computer. Just pull an image and post whatever on both Facebook and Twitter. And
Oh, no, I meant, do you want to do it?
but now that I'm talking. Yeah, they did like a ton of research into it. I'd call it an indie game with AAA graphics. That's probably the right way to put it.
Yes.
But yeah, so they did like a lot of research, and even if you aren't super interested in playing this, checking out the documentary, which is online on YouTube, about the making of it is really interesting. And the reason that I have Greg...
G,
Yes?
you're definitely echoing.
Whoops. Sorry. The reason that I have Greg playing it right now instead of just playing it myself is like the audio is really, really interesting, and it's not going to quite come through on stream. It might. But they recorded all of the audio with like binaural recording devices, which is like recording devices where you can kind of walk around them and record kind of ear to ear.
As the human ear is supposed to
Yeah.
hear
Hear
actual sounds.
Yeah. I'd call it a masterpiece, says Adam. Yeah, I agree. This game is phenomenal. This is like one of my favorite games of the decade, personally.
I'm gonna pop this up on
yeah.
here and put the chicken in front of
Yeah.
it.
And I've heard there are some people who take some issue with it, and I think it's all everyone's got interesting takes on it. But I agree with Chad. I think this is a phenomenal game. But yeah, the audio is all kind of like this binaural recording. So what's happening right now, if you can't hear it too bad or too closely, is there's a lot of like voices kind of talking to you right now, which goes throughout the entire game. And when you have headphones on, like they really kind of like move around your head and are kind of talking to you from ear to ear. The audio work is kind of, I think, the best.
It's crazy.
The best part about this game. It's pretty nuts. So we're gonna get through this opening here, and it also features this very, very good lead performance from I can't remember the name of the actress who does this. Audio is working correctly with headphones and stream. Awesome. That's super great. So it's a little spooky, but also just like happy Sunday. Thank you. Happy Sunday to you too. Joe already has goosebumps. Yeah, the next couple of games are pretty atmospheric too, so it'll be a nice little late night block.
Ninja Theory, right?
Ninja Theory.
They're watching it.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that right there?
Yeah, I think that's them, but no house effect. All right. So I was gonna ask if people in the chat have played this, but it sounds like a couple people already have. and vouch for it. So that is good. I have to remember to keep it down so I don't echo.
She's afraid. Wouldn't you be? You think she'll get used to it?
So this game is like a mix of I'd say like environmental puzzles kind of and kind of hack and slash combat.
You might try and ignore it.
I wouldn't even necessarily say it's hack and slash.
Mhm.
It's very like
Out of sight.
block, hit,
Where you're most
block,
vulnerable.
hit. You know, like it's almost like For Honor-ish. Like one,
Yeah.
usually like one-on-one sort of. You're fighting this big dude with a sword, and you
Yeah.
got a smaller sword.
Yeah.
But there are times definitely where
I forgot about how
A
long
few
this
people-
this opening
yeah, the
is.
opening is very long. Oh, we don't have subtitles or anything on, huh?
Oh no. Well, it sounds like
Or do we? Up. I don't know.
chat said it was coming through on the stream.
I know it's coming through, but it does.
Yeah, I feel that.
After we land, we can put subtitles on.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear what I said?
Bravery only means something to those afraid of death.
Feels like a game I want to play.
With fear, it's far.
This feels like a game I want to play in the dark with no other sounds around.
Yeah, this game is very ASMR-y. I think everyone should whisper for the next hour. We could definitely do that. Would it put everyone to
could.
sleep though?
We could do that. I don't think their voices will put anyone to sleep.
I will definitely. I'm gonna keep it quiet for this. It is very ASMR-y. A lot of ASMR also uses
One thing I will say,
binaural
though,
mics.
on a serious note,
Yeah.
if you are someone who's watching and you do suffer from anything, any sort of mental psychosis or anything like that,
Yeah.
I would not necessarily suggest watching
Yeah, we'll put a
the next hour of this.
we'll put a
stream.
content warning on this. Yeah, it's definitely definitely a little bit intense if you suffer from things kind of close to psychosis, but definitely. All right. Thank you. But it treats it because it's so well researched for the game. It treats it
Oh, yeah,
very,
I don't
very
think, I don't
sensitively.
Think it's, like, treated like weird, badly or anything.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean like the
Yeah.
amount of voices you'll hear and the things you'll see and everything.
Yeah.
If you already suffer from anything, even slight, I wouldn't necessarily suggest
Yeah.
tuning in for this.
There's nothing to
If you don't though, welcome. Join us.
Hey, Tony!
Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a
Um,
role to play in this story.
And someone who does. If you don't know somebody who does, you should watch it. Yeah, it's
Yes.
again the. Are we looking for subtitles?
Yeah, I think so. Also, yeah, no, that's a good point too. If you don't really know anything about the topic, or if you kind of know someone who does suffer from anything like this and have wanted to learn more but haven't really known a good way to,
You have to take a closer
this is
look.
definitely something
She needs to
you
focus
can
now.
check
She has
out.
to use her
What's the? I don't know the controls
The
for this.
documentary too is also.
What's
very
what is the buttons for? Yeah, hold that down.
Do not
Was it trigger?
my story, Senua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because your darkness comes from hell.
And that tells us it's a story.
Fate lies
When
there.
you walk onto these.
They say the
It's the
burning of a
spooky
corpse
hour.
tempers strength,
It is the spooky hour.
Yeah.
but
Can I
gods
get-
of living
Can you hand me dry bones?
follow this path.
Big or small?
Big dry bones. Thank you.
bones.
Big bones!
And find a road that leads north
Or chicken burger.
and dawn through
Chicken Gourd is blocking our sponsorship on my laptop.
After 9
How
nights
sensitive
of
we are about this.
you will follow a great
Yeah, I don't have. I mean,
Professional about it.
covered in gold.
Professional streamers. We're wearing what we wear to the mall.
Goes from
legit.
Yeah,
across
kind
the
of.
nine
Also, yeah.
Legit. Hot topic, baby. Here we come.
Hot topic, baby. Here we come.
Going to the mall.
Also, especially at what is it, mid like 12:10 at
Yeah.
night?
Yeah.
Absolutely at the mall.
So
I'm getting that caffeine.
do we want to?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm actually kind of starting to pep up.
What?
Do we want to talk a little bit about what the story of this is, or are we going to get enough of that in the first hour?
I think as things like start popping up,
Yeah.
so
God.
this.
Already the bodies.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh no, it's.
I don't remember what time this is set in. The time period it's set in. Is it Viking?
It's a mix. Right?
Yeah,
it's Norse and Viking. And
Yeah,
Pigs. Pigs, right?
I believe that. Pictish? Yeah. This does go deep into a lot of various mythologies. I don't.
So, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly, she's murdering Vikings
Yes.
because they came and started murdering a bunch of her people.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Which. Yeah, and she's kind of on a quest. This character to kind of avenge the
Yes.
deaths of her family, basically. And
I love her family, her like beloved.
right.
Well, not even beloved, like her.
Yeah.
The one who helped get her through.
Yeah. And
everything.
she's doing that by seeking out the goddess Hela.
Hella!
It was a good year for
Hello.
Hela.
Yeah, it was a good. Hey, 2017, good year for Hella.
Hell of her all.
Hell of her
Friends
all.
at the table.
Hell of a
Oh,
game.
wow.
Let's make a friends at the table reference.
Yeah.
The river of knives across
Um,
which
Yeah.
lies the
But yeah,
place
so it's interesting because it combines
they call
all these different mythologies and everything too. Because, like you said, she has her own background, but she's coming to attack these people.
The
and
sub-
so it's blending her.
The subtitles are also kind of like
Yeah.
a funny thing on this because it's
I-
like
I
they're
to-
all just like voices
I
in.
totally forgot about that. If you want to turn the subtitles back off, I didn't realize it was gonna subtitle for the voices.
It's definitely not subtitling all of them, but
Yeah.
Just
Um,
the plot important ones.
yeah. So, Colin, you haven't played this, and you can't really hear the audio right now. Basically, the whole time you're walking around, you just have like voices constantly like circling your head. And like we said, there was a lot of research done in the development of this game into psychosis and how that kind of works. And what they did, and we'll start to see this in a second, but
Turn
people
off the
who
subtitles.
suffer from psychosis kind of I think in their research they were talking about how they see patterns, like weird patterns in the world.
I mean, it depends on.
It- yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people that they talk to, they interview
Well,
for
yeah,
it.
some of them, that was
So
a big thing for them.
that's something that gets adapted into this, and we'll see a little bit this in a second. The kind of environmental puzzles of the game kind of sort of adapt that element of like that. Is there a sprint, by the way? I can't remember.
A sprint?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if you have it yet or not, though. I'm pretty sure. Oh,
No,
you almost
he
did.
almost had it. There you go.
Which, yeah.
Just in case.
It took me a long time to do
yeah.
that one.
It took me a while to figure out the controls. There's actually like a lot of. There's like not a ton, but especially in combat, there's like a couple of things where it's like, oh, I didn't realize I could do that.
But no, yeah, no. As you were saying, like some of the people that they talked to when they were making this game were describing how one of the things with them is that they see patterns in everything, even if there aren't necessarily patterns there.
Right.
So because of that, the way that they do many environmental puzzles in this game is it's all sort of about shifting your perspective.
Right.
Like moving slightly to the left so that certain things line up in just the right way.
Yeah. And there's a lot of puzzles that we'll probably get to see a couple of them in this game, but
Yeah, I don't know.
like when you get really deep into it, it's probably like a 6 to 8 hour game. And when you get really deep into it, there's spaces you have to navigate like strictly through those like puzzles types of puzzles, and they're pretty incredibly designed. So, yeah. Ooh, is that me? Is that someone?
It's everyone. We gotta like.
Ooh, I like.
I got a text though.
Oh,
Over there.
yeah. It's the spooky hour. All right. And also, again, just for a game that like is kind of an indie, like it's
Does anyone have stream up?
You're in danger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did someone say Happy Sunday?
Somebody did say Happy Sunday. Why? It was a while ago. We said it.
I didn't hear it.
Did someone text you saying that you said?
I said Happy Sunday, by the way, on stream.
Yeah.
Because his thing was every day he would see me. Like, happy, whatever that day was. Like,
No, this is it. The hidden path.
So yeah, now we're gonna start kind of getting into that thing that we were talking about with patterns in it in a little bit. I think we should be getting into combat in a little bit as well.
oh, we're close. Oh yeah, here's a. This confused me for a really
This
long
took me a
time.
while, yeah. I kind of found it by accident, the like solution to this.
I think I had to look it up. I think I looked it up and I had been staring right at it. I was like,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Find I live longer that way. The bastards catch me again. Never! Wait,
It's pretty PS4 heavy block, right?
Pretty PS4 heavy block,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what you have the next games on, but
I think it's PS4.
you watched the documentary. Is this like live action footage
It is
that's
live
that's
action,
put in?
yeah. It's
Okay,
a legit dude who's dressed like that.
like just to give it a real freaking weird aesthetic.
Does that
Yeah.
technically make it an FMV?
Yeah, a little FMVS.
It's good to see you again. You kept your vow.
this life and the next. I will tell you.
But it's good though, because I spent the entire time being like, is he real?
It's a really weird look. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that happens visually in this game that's kind of fascinating.
The runes seal the gates to hell. Focus your inner eye, and you too will see what's
Alright.
hidden in
Take a
the
stare at
inside.
that.
I can see one.
Hold it in your mind's eye.
Okay.
Find one
So-
hidden in the gate.
Yeah. So now,
Turn around. Turn around.
basically, what you're doing is looking for this pattern
yeah.
in the space to walk around a little bit with it.
Yeah, you can vote. So it'll actually, it does make it a little easier for you. It will kind of like, yeah, it'll start like, you'll see those
Hey,
lights a lot
shadows.
more when,
Focus.
da-na-na,
Look towards the gate. And the gate.
the door should
And
be
that
open
should
now.
open the door, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that where you find those symbols on doors and have to kind of like find those runes kind of
Go through it.
in the environment.
Follow it. What's behind it? It worked.
I think we're close to getting to a controversial thing about the game, which I'm wondering how much we should talk about on stream.
I spent 6 years enslaved in hell.
I'm curious. I don't know.
I watched,
The death system.
learned their ways.
I know
Oh.
We can talk about that when we get to it, right?
When everyone else
Yeah.
laughed.
I don't give a shit.
Dave.
No, I mean like the controversy behind it. I
Yeah,
think
it's
stupid.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Share my stories with you.
I just don't know if it's spoilery.
like-
But
We will make the North
I get it.
feel our fury.
I get why people would be upset by it, but I also really don't care.
yeah, no, same here. I think it's awesome. I think it's a brilliant,
Like I
brilliant
panicked
thing.
about it for the entire game, and then when I found out about it, I was like, oh,
Another voice
okay.
joined us.
Yeah.
She was trying to make them go away.
Should we talk? Well,
They weren't
I think
is that a spoiler?
yes and no. Pete jumping in saying forgot how good this game was. Yeah, it's
Okay.
a real
I
good
feel
one.
like most of the people in the chat have played it though.
Yeah, I think so. And if you haven't, this is a good introduction to it because again, we'll get through like the first hour here, which is kind of enough to.
So you have to balance yourself. I didn't freaking know that.
Yeah, this is actually kind of a pain.
I like.
But you
Do you use the motion control? Or how do you do this?
What the? Oh god.
Yeah, it's a bit disorienting.
I didn't know.
You almost fall over in real life.
I thought I was just supposed to walk.
just wish they
By the way, I'm getting some messages about the runes. The one that we just solved for was called Menaz.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait, what? That's what the name of the rune is.
that's the name of that rune was.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
In
In here.
no, I mean like
It's Nordic.
it is Nordic.
Careful.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's this is really heavily rooted in Nordic mythology, as far as I know. I'm not like a huge mythology person, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But
Oh yeah, Hell is definitely Norse mythology.
yeah,
The whole the various times.
yeah. Adam popping in saying the official soundtrack for this is also great as it blends music with the voices, sometimes alternating between tracks. It's so good. Also, I didn't know about the death thing because I didn't
You didn't
die enough
He's
to get
just
it.
too good
Yeah.
at the game.
He's too good.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I think
The world
I
of death
died.
is ruled by the giantess.
I died a few times, and every time I did, I was like, fuck.
I died once near the end,
Gods feared her.
but I also died technically right here because I fell off this.
I died at
this
this
bit.
part too.
And I never put it together. I was like, wait, I
Your
died
father
there.
cast her down into Helheim and gave her power over those who die of sickness, age, hardship, and self-slaughter.
Yeah, so there are these like totems around that both.
They tell part.
They
the story.
both tell the story, but they also just tell like mythology.
They tell a story.
A story, yeah.
With her, you must bargain.
Getting real spooky.
Me climbing over there? Oh, it's good.
I forgot how like quiet and kind of like slow the opening is. Not in a, I don't mean that in a bad way. Just like it's such a atmospheric opening. I mean this. Yeah. Okay.
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 It's time.
I'm trying to remember how this all plays out.
The gate to Helheim divides the living from the dead. Is that the face of Hela herself? The half-rotten goddess that rules over Helheim. Whatever horrors lie behind that door, she must find it. Shh. Someone's here.
They're all just silent.
Yeah.
One thing that is really neat is how much they have the main character just stare directly into the camera,
Yeah.
which is like
Just talk at you.
and just like talk at you. It's very disorienting.
I'll give you what you want.
What's up?
I was just reading or rereading.
Just give him that.
The comments about the sound.
No, like deal with something. Wrote this article for Polygon back in September.
Yeah, I've read that.
Where she talks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there have been takes kind of both ways. There's been people who suffer from that's the freaking sound technician acting right now. Wait, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was just some person, right?
She's the she was the social media person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
I
crap.
believe like the social video editor.
What are the actual controls for PS4? Let's see, attack. Yeah, do you remember what the control is for actually attacking?
Ooh.
That's the kind of like counter block. Purple? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you block it like the last second, it'll do like kind of a knock them off guard. She's amazing, says Joe. Yeah, seriously, her acting in this is pretty incredible.
They brought her in to do a test, like to do a test you can capture your device and everything.
Yeah. And she was just.
And they're like, do you want to? She finished the test, and they were like, do you want to? Her? And she was like, well, I have to do an operation, right? Which she already did.
That's incredible. I can't remember. You're supposed
You
to.
need to deflect, or you need to.
Oh right, you need to use the deflect at the last second, or the light. I don't. Does he have the light yet?
What do the voices say?
Yeah, I don't know what the voices are saying. Okay, there we go. The required thing. Yeah.
Wait, so what?
Oh,
This
is
is a fail state.
Oh, it's a fail state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melissa Jorgens, is that her name? I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah, there was a Polygon piece from somebody who suffered from mental illness, who was you know, kind of critical of the approach that this takes.
Yeah.
But I've also read things on the other side
course.
too.
Yeah, and the criticism as we watch his death.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait to talk about the criticism.
Yeah.
A vision
Yeah, strap in.
of what's to come.
This is a dark ride. The game that is getting played next is a far cry from this, but
Yeah.
also dark and atmospheric,
And does not reason.
and so good.
And now it has.
Do you have the
taken
new
hold.
update? Also, the mocap tech that Ninja Theory developed for this is amazing. Did you see the development diary where they were basically doing the scene live at a conference?
Yeah, it was so crazy.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, so what did they actually perform
They were
scenes live?
like, They were like, we're gonna. She's like, the actress was like, what? They're like, we're gonna do this live at a conference so people
All
can
of
see
her
our stuff.
suffering will
She's
have been for
like,
nothing.
okay. And so they did like when they were still making the
just
game, they did like the not the opening scene, but like a scene kind of like this.
Oh,
With her reacting to all this stuff, and then they're like, "That was live," and they like revealed like she was like there on stage,
Okay.
doing it, and it was
so let's talk about this.
crazy.
Um,
Oh yeah,
so I'm hesitant to talk about it, but I think we're gonna talk about it for the sake of this. If you're,
I think we're far enough.
she was video editor, not sound technician.
Oh, video.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
You said sound technician.
Joe, but he checked it. If you are really, 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 really interested in going and playing this, and you don't want to know anything about it, you might want to tune out as we talk about this part. But it's also something that you might not really care about, and also might make you enjoy the game a little bit more when you play it. So what that said right there, basically, is every time you die, that black mark will go up your body, and when it reaches your head, you will permadeath. That is what the game tells you at the beginning. People did tests and tests and tests and tests, like players. There's no way to actually get the permadeath. What happens is it starts to go up, and then at a certain point, it like isn't actually going farther up, but it like kind of looks like it is. And that was like an intentional bluff that the game put in, because this is like a character who is like terrified of dying, and they wanted to put you in that state of like also being really scared of dying. And as a player, the way that they are instilling that in you is like the game will end, like this will be over for you. So there was kind of controversy among some players like with it, because I think there were some players who kind of felt cheated by that. Like, why have the game lie to you?
Because they spent the entire time stressing about
Yeah.
whether their character should die or can die or not. And then
Right.
And they got to the end, or they finally died, and they're like, fuck, I screwed everything up. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, no, I'm fine. And like,
Right.
They're like, I can't believe I wasted all that. And I did that same thing, but my reaction was, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. I learned from that.
Yeah.
So you can not be a fucking moron, guys. That's my take on this.
Wow.
Listen, there's Dark Souls. I get that. The whole, like, oh, I gotta go back and get my stuff, or whatever. Or, like, oh, permadeath.
Well,
One, permadeath sucks.
Yeah.
I hate permadeath in games. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a very lame mechanic. I
Yeah.
get it for people who like it, but it's not for me. And two, like,
Pete says
it shouldn't take away from enjoying, like, you shouldn't spend the entire time stressing about
Peter's saying, did anybody else glitch the big door and get super pissed? Is
Yes,
that
I
a thing
did.
you can do? What happens?
So there's a big
Some of
door.
us further
um,
than others.
Well, there's a few actually. I discovered, but there's a big door that you can glitch, and it won't. It's one of the symbol doors,
Yeah.
and it just won't open straight
Oh,
up. Like you
that
can't,
sucks.
You can't like lock onto it.
I think I may have gotten
But
that.
it turns out you just have to. There's a certain spot that you have to get to that.
Yeah.
Each
get it to open for you.
Anyway, yeah, the permadeath thing is like,
Some of
it's
us
an
further
interesting
than others.
idea because it's like, how can we use
Cannot
like
say
a
what we
mechanic
say.
that is
There is nothing wrong with seeing
like
the
a
world
game-
the way you do.
like how can we use something in the language of games to further what we're kind of like talking about and the
Right.
mindset that they kind of like want to put you in and like immersing you kind of in that character. So I mean, putting you in this really like nerve-wracked panic state is not something that a game would do usually because like that is or at least not do in that way. But I think it's very effective, and like I had that feeling going through it where I was like very nervous and panicked and like, you know, kind of freaked out.
To be honest, I did get upset with it, the idea of permadeath.
Yeah.
There's one scene where there's like, or one of the people you fight is the god of war, right? Is it war or fire?
Yeah, I remember that fight. Yeah.
But to get to him, you have to go through these different like burning villages.
That's where I kept dying.
And
Yeah.
there's like two parts in there. One of them where you have to do one of those freaking things that Greg was doing earlier, where you have to walk across a
Yeah.
balance thing. And I kept falling off because I couldn't figure out the damn controls on how to walk across a balance thing.
I think
and
there's
then I
a-
was like, I'm gonna lose this damn game.
I think there's a rune door back down there.
Like I'm gonna get permadeath because I can't balance on a beam.
Yeah.
And so I got really upset with that, and then I was like,
Yeah,
and then I got past that point. I was like, okay.
I looked it up pretty early because as soon as I saw it, I was like, "There's something fishy about
I
this."
never looked it up.
I did look it up.
I didn't know.
I think I talked to you about it afterwards,
Yeah,
and that's
I
how
was
you kind
like,
of found out
"Excuse
about
me?"
it. Yeah. But I looked it up right away because I was really like, they can't really do that, right? Nobody would play this. And then I was like, read a lot of articles that were like, we don't think there's actually permadeath in this game. It's like, wait, what? So I kind of figured it out when I was playing it. And again, I think it makes the game a lot less like stressful, for better or worse. But yeah, if that's something that's kind of been turning you off to it because you're like, I don't want to get like 5 hours into this game and then die and then have to start again, don't worry about that. Just take the kind of conceptual idea from it. I've talked to people who like really don't like the combat in this. I actually kind of like it.
I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Especially as you get to the game and you start like getting it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, bring it on. I can take down anything.
Yeah, so there's more stuff that Greg's gonna kind of have access to. There's like a focus ability that kind of
Yeah.
I don't remember what it does. Does it slow time or
A little bit.
kind of?
New York.
Dude. Yeah, that's the door to New York City.
New York, baby. We're here.
So again, Greg is kind of on the hunt for these runes in the environment. This one's actually really tricky. We'll let Greg see what he
Yeah.
can
So
do.
while we're doing this rune puzzle,
Yeah.
what I was saying before is one of the
Oh yeah.
one of the criticisms about this was that it, in the process of kind of making a game that is a hero's story,
Right.
it doesn't do like a very good job of like for a game that's supposed to be so considerate about mental health and really focused on like people who live with mental illnesses. It doesn't like the metaphor of the game itself and the mechanics of it. And this is the criticism from DLC,
Yeah.
which is that it puts people with mental health issues essentially into their own like universe,
Mhm.
their own land of like. I guess the original basis for this game was supposed to be she's like a warrior going through a land of illusion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was all in her, and it was all supposed to like
a little more.
it was all supposed to take place over the course of like one afternoon.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
And that in in still sticking to kind of that theme of going through, like hell,
Yeah.
actual hell. It is still kind of sticking with that narrative that you know people with mental illnesses do live in a land of illusion.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that's kind of been said about it.
Just something to bring up.
Which is which is the
There
thing.
you go, Greg.
The thing that I have said about this game a lot is the fact that I think that like with a game like this, that can be the conversation that you're having, rather than like a conversation that's like, oh, are the graphics good? You know,
Right.
is the gameplay good? Like to me is really interesting. You know, like, and I love those conversations, and I have those conversations all the time about games because you know it's a different medium, and that's part of like that discussion.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Please tell me you got the bug.
oh no.
No, there you go. See,
But-
you have to step back a little bit. That's the
But it's cool to be able to like talk about a game from that perspective and,
Yeah.
and like really get into the meat of it and talk about what it's going for and whether or not it's effective, rather than just kind of talking about like, oh yeah, like the stuff is there but like it just doesn't play well, you know, and obviously I think you can still have conversations like that in this game. I've heard people talk about the combat and how they're not super into
Right.
it.
I mean, yeah, you just talk about like, mechanics, the way it feels.
Yeah.
But also like any, honestly, like there's criticism, and I'm glad that there's criticism on
Yeah.
both ends. You know.
I think as like for the medium to progress, you like have to start getting to that point,
Yeah.
you know, and get past the like formal conversations of like, is this shot well, like for a movie, you know, and
Right.
once you get past that point, I think you really start to more and more legitimize it as kind of like a form of expression.
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
mean, you move more into like the ideas.
Yeah.
that are within it, as opposed to the bare mechanical and production-based criticism.
When does he get the focus? Nice.
I don't know.
Put them down.
I also can't remember what like triggers it.
Left trigger, right trigger.
Joe also Joe mentioned the combat's fine because it's not the majority of the game. It's just kind of a break in the puzzles. Yeah, it balances really well the pacing between like hitting these big action segments and doing these like slower paced puzzle segments. The one thing that's also really cool
Surrounded.
is
Nice.
this game also, and it's one of the reasons
Oh yeah.
one of the reasons I love the combat in this game is as you get deeper into it and you're getting like surrounded by enemies, there's no map on the screen. There's no HUD on the screen at all. So there's no like enemies. There's no way to tell that an enemy's behind you.
It's
But
all-
if you
it's all
listen,
the voices.
if you listen to the audio, you'll hear because they're using the binaural mics. You'll hear like a voice behind your head go like, "Look out!" and you'll know that something's coming from behind you. So you can like play the game by ear in those sections, which I think is like so fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Which, to be honest, I know, like, I'm not the best with vision,
Yeah.
but, like, I felt like I had such a better time, like, fighting these sorts of fights when someone was like, behind, they're coming behind,
Yeah.
or, like, from the left, versus, like, fuck, look at my mini-map, shit,
Yeah.
there's a dude behind me?
Well, because it's more it's immersive in a really interesting way. You
Yes.
know, it's like it's really
It's fire time.
yeah. Yeah, there's like FMV-ish things are really something.
Greg, you should mention it's about 12:40, so you've got 15 minutes.
Yeah, do you want to swap out? Are you good?
He's in it.
Are you in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg,
Don't touch the...
Just keep
go.
run forward. I think we might get to see a death. We'll see.
get to see it death.
Yeah, we might. Not sure. I died here, I think, because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on.
Hell will not give you
This
the
first one?
answers you want,
I think so.
but you mustn't
No, maybe it was the second one.
horrors it does offer, because you cannot.
God, it's such a weird look. This is not a film that will. I don't think anybody will know. There's this film called Clean Shaven, that I think it's from the 90s or something, but it's like it's a case like this where somebody set out to make a film about like a mental illness like psychosis. It might even been psychosis, where it like
How will she get through?
it tried to do it in like a really
Truly
exhaustive kind of like accurate way. You know, to the point where it's like a really, really heavy film, and it's really kind of hard to watch in a lot. But you know, it's like it was all signed off on by whatever mental health committee. It comes through. Sleep comes to me. Team Silver Space. Thank you. You have been a trooper all day. Enjoy some sleep, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for some of the
still today.
morning games, or today for some of the morning games. But sleep tight. Thank you. Thank you again for donating earlier and for hanging around with us. But yeah.
We getting through missions? How we doing?
We're doing good. Oh yeah, I guess it's a good time to re-mention for the late night crowd. Hi, late night crowd. Thank you for sticking around. It's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Welcome to Adult Swim.
Welcome to Adult Swim, LTRT after hours. We are still from now until 10 a.m. raising. Are you gonna be a radio DJ now?
After hours.
We are raising money for Child's Play. It is a great charity. They help kids who are sick and in the hospital get access to games so they can play even if they are kind of stuck in the hospital for a while. So we have been raising money for them. We are over $800 raised, which is nuts. We have an incentive going if we raise $875 by 2 a.m. We're going to switch out the game that we have currently with Jackbox Party Pack 4 so that some of you guys can pop in. But I don't know why I clicked on your Facebook tab. I'm sorry. I thought it was on my computer.
That's okay.
But so we're still a little bit out from that. Like $61 out.
$61.
61. So like.
Can someone take away
$1.
No. Like $8?
Take
8. I can't do math right now.
Someone remove $8 from the 61 that we need.
What does that get us? 69.
So we need $69.
Yeah. Anyways, if you want to donate, if you're watching the stream right now, which you are because you can hear my voice, scroll down below the video. If you're on desktop, you'll see a green button for donating. That'll take you to the donate page. And if you're on mobile, go jump, pray, hit some buttons and pray.
What?
There's there's a way to do it on mobile, and I'm not.
It's under the info.
It's under the info tab.
If you're watching on a tablet, you just tap the blank space under the stream, and then it'll come up and say info, and then the buttons are on that page.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm downing a Coke. I'm feeling more awake, which is great.
Everyone's awake. Dry Bones, are you awake?
But I definitely could use a little blanket over
Wet Bones,
my
you
little
want a
arms.
You
Yeah,
want
just
a legit blanket? Or you
no,
want
just
a
something to
sheet?
put under my arms. My arms are getting a little chill.
What's a worse name? Wet Bones or Moist Bones?
I think Wet Bones actually.
Wet Bones is like it's this. Yeah.
Like Moist Bones.
So, but some people really don't like the word moist in general.
Yeah, and understandably.
They call me Johnny Moist Bones.
Asgard and Midgard, waging war against all the gods. He will be
They
victorious.
call me
Moist is always worse. It is.
Johnny Moistbone.
It's just a worse word, but it definitely
It's a bad, yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
Oh, you're going back. Back again.
I'm trying to remember where I haven't been following where he's been walking to, so I don't remember.
Ooh, fire.
I mean, I think you're basically looking for another one of those.
Northmen made fire sacrifices.
Oh
burning
God.
slaves like me to reveal the path to soul.
Yeah, another one of those fire things. Yeah, that's totally fine. Thank you.
They just scream,
I'm gonna get a cape now.
helpless pigs.
Not all heroes wear capes.
But all capes were heroes.
Yes.
There you go. There's that thing.
What if your clothes wore you?
Toy Story 4.
I was gonna say, coming to DreamWorks Studios.
Is this also set during like a plague or something like that, or is it just the kind of murdering of
Socks.
the peoples? Is this the one that you died on, Gosh? I think it took me a while to figure out where the hell to go in this one.
Yo, how fresh be those grapes?
How fresh be those grapes? Not the time to ask that.
Why is it?
We'll just hit you.
Do your gods answer your prayers, Senua?
So weird
I
looking.
ask the gods for mercy.
Some
All of them,
David
even
Lynch
theirs.
shit. Hi, new viewers who have just come in. How's it going?
Find
Thanks for joining us.
Senua. Find your own path, like I find mine.
My gods abandoned me. I am alone.
What are you singing?
Everything's fine.
In heaven, everything is fine. In
Is that
heaven.
what they sing in the heater?
Yes, in the film Eraser. Joe asked how you're liking it, Greg.
Yo, it's spooky.
Are you
Yeah,
spooked
he's-
out? Yeah, Craig's been really into it. He hasn't
Yeah,
like said a
hasn't
word.
said a word for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's a pretty fucking. It's a pretty spooky game. It's a good midnight
Trying
game.
to decide if we should stop after. This is the one.
This one is a pain in the
This
ass.
is
Yeah.
the one that I fucked up on.
The less of a pain in the ass once you realize that there's no permanent death. Yeah, I think Greg's pretty deep into it right now. I don't know if that means that he's enjoying it or just that he's deep into it, but
I'm trying to decide if this should be the last one before we move on.
probably.
Or I can't remember if the boss is after it.
The boss is after this, but
Is it
that's.
directly after this?
I'm
If
not
it's not
sure.
directly after this, then
Yeah.
I think this is the last one. Depending on how fast he solves this.
Yeah, I mean this is a pretty tough section. Just like navigating it. This took me a while. Oh right. Yeah, there's like a couple parts to this.
Infinite R's.
Joe says it's not, so this is not the section before the boss.
Okay, so
The
this
Northmen
is
of
the last
hell
one.
worship the divine.
Thank you.
and
Thanks, Joe.
search
We
God's
find the
daughters.
eternal R.
It's good to have some folks who have played this
Senua.
in here to vouch to vouch for it.
The Tuatha De Danann.
Do you think is the eternal R there for the
Oh, yeah,
the
somewhere
pirate
near.
who never dies?
For the what?
The eternal R,
To survive.
the immortal pirate,
I don't know.
Captain Kidd,
Captain Kidd.
the immortal pirate.
Like you, Senua.
What?
My
That's like one of the lore points.
No, I know.
Yeah.
when that happens,
Just yeah, it's just.
even gods you worship die.
Some of these are like really like obscure. I don't think I
Oh,
ever
hey,
hit
that
to.
slanted tree looks like it might be part of it.
I mean, some of them are in like weird ass places. Ass places, yeah. they're all in butts.
Look at your butt.
Yeah.
There, you will find the symbol.
Turns out your butt isn't. Oh wait, the infinite part.
What's that?
What if the infinity rune, which is probably
The
an actual thing,
I mean, the Infinity Gem.
the infinity gem,
Stone.
The
Infinity Stone.
the infinite ass.
I haven't seen Black Panther yet. I gotta go see that.
Man, I can't wait to.
Turn around, the Aurora Borealis.
The David Borealis.
David Borealis.
David Borealis is
Shit, I don't remember where this one
Become
is.
the Ouroboros.
Do you remember where these are?
What?
But I
Yeah,
was
I
saying
do.
that infinity symbol could potentially look like a butt
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
if you got like a.
Oh,
really
do you go from above?
Geometric butt. A lot of hard angles. A
Same.
lot of hard angles on that butt.
No.
Dr. Hangover. Is it
So
something?
who wants to talk about Donkey Kong?
Yeah,
Speaking of Kurt Angle.
we haven't talked about Donkey. Wait, what? Do you remember? I don't know. Oh, is that it? Hang on. Look at the ground there. Oh.
Oh.
To the ground.
Zoom in there.
Really?
Look to the
I was
flame.
wondering what those angles were.
All right. Now you gotta find the weird
Find the butt.
Infinity Gauntlet.
It's a bow tie.
Find the.
Yeah, just look for your bow tie.
Look for Luigi's bow tie.
Is that the symbol for the Order of the Balance?
Oh no.
The Order of the
because,
Phoenix?
Order of Balance has like it's twice.
Oh, it's twice. That's right.
For all you adventures.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I'm not. See, I got cut off because we're not allowed to talk about.
Oh God, someone's touching my head. Where is? I don't like this at all.
You don't?
Oh boy. No, actually, I do now that I've turned and looked at what it was.
Yeah. Now that you know who it is.
I know who's touching my head.
So what direction is it in?
You ever see that video with a turtle that's trying to have sex with a shoe?
Yes. Somehow, yes. And going like.
Oh, there. Yeah, you got it. Greg.
Yeah, you just gotta line that side up right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that.
Close enough.
Close enough. I did, Colin. Whoever's doing this.
Dry Bones is very bad at sex, but Wet Bones is very good at sex.
I'm uncomfortable.
Moist Bones would be good at sex, but no one's interested because
No
their name
one's
is
interested
Moist Bones.
in moist bones.
A little bit of that.
Push that sucker.
Give me those moist bones, boys.
Wow, all these boys are still alive. Hi, Dolphin. How's it going?
Dolphin's back.
Hey Dolphin, we're here talking about the good old moist.
Talking about-
Yeah, you've come just in time. Dalton, we're asking what's a better or worse name, Wet Bones or Moist Bones? I feel like Dolphin's...
Yes, we are alive. But is that a good thing?
Soggy Bones.
Soggy Bones. Soggy Bones isn't bad, but Wet Bones is really
Wet
fucking
Bones
bad.
is pretty great. Wet Bones fucks. That's all I want to say.
What bones fucks?
Yeah, Wet Bones definitely
What bones fucks? Moist bones is riches.
fucks. Yeah.
Moist Bones out here. Slick Bones, says Young Dolphin.
Slick Bones.
Yeah, move. What's that?
So, Greg, if you make it through this, is the last part.
Yeah. Ooh. Uh-oh. Find another way.
If only there was some wet bones here to put out this fire.
Jesus God fucking Christ. There's no Lord. Turn around, Bright Eyes. Turn around, Bright Eyes.
Turn around.
Slick Bones is really good.
Slick Bones is a good one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I died on this a lot, actually. Can you die? Do you burn up in this section?
Bonefish.
Ooh. Yeah, Greg.
Good ale.
Yeah.
Bonefish. This is basically what I expected this to be after 15 hours. Wet bones, or which part of it? Or us being tired?
What is this?
For this part.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Fuck him up. What?
Him.
Oh.
Greg's playing defensive.
Oh.
He's good at. Greg's really good at that timing
Ah,
though.
yeah.
All the wet bones talk. Yeah, Dolphin.
Yeah. The story of Wet Bones. Oh, behind you.
Oh god. Could you hear it in the audio there, or?
No, I just heard him attacking me in the
Okay.
background.
Because sometimes, like, the voices will just tell you, like, hey, someone's behind you. Like, you gotta watch out, dog. That's what they say verbatim.
They all talk like that.
Alright, get out of there.
Yo, dog.
Go, get that door.
This is gonna be a good point to end it on, too.
Ah, Jesus.
Oh. Person.
Thought I had to. Oh.
Woo.
This game looks sick, says Young Dolphin. It's really, really, really good. Dolphin, you kind of missed when we were talking about it. It's a game about a woman with psychosis, and it's deeply, deeply researched into psychosis. Like they talk to a lot of people who actually suffer from it during it. So it's a really, really interesting heavy game. You did it, Greg.
They're all stream friendly. You don't. there's
How do you
no-
feel?
They're not.
It's like stressful.
It's a really stressful game.
Were you guys saying that balance beam thing can be like real rough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did it good.
I
I can
died.
understand it.
I
was just
died
like,
there.
like half ran, half just like.
Yeah.
Ready to switch over?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna switch over to another game.
Thanks for letting me get really deep into that.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I kind of thought you weren't gonna be into it. But that was really cool. So it's a remake of Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem, says Dolphin. I was actually gonna compare it to that during it. It's kind of similar to it, except it's a lot more sensitive towards the actual mental illness. Not that Eternal Darkness isn't insensitive towards it. It's just like not a game about mental disorder. Yeah. But it's like a. It's really, really cool. There's a big documentary on YouTube where they talk about how they kind of went through the process of learning about psychosis to make it, and made sure to talk to people to make it as sensitive as possible towards it. It's worth watching. So we're going to switch over to another game.
Anchovy pizza.